Hey everyone, and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in southern Tasmania. Just bear with me for a minute, I'm making sure that I can hear myself on my iPad. Often the noise goes and I can't hear. Yep, I can. Definitely don't want to hear that, so I'll turn that down. So thanks for joining me. As I said, I'm in southern Tasmania and I wish I could say it's sunny today, but it's not. It's quite overcast, but it's not raining at least. It's been raining for the best part of a week, so everything's a bit damp and soggy. But anyway, today's a little bit drier. Oh, hey Hannah, thanks for joining me. Anyway, today what I'm going to be crafting for you using the Pampered Pets stamp set and the dies, which come in a bundle. So if you like the dies and the stamp set, you buy them together as a bundle and you save 10%. So the dies are imaginatively called pet dies, so that makes a lot of sense. So the Pampered Pets bundle. I'm going to be doing this little one here, which I absolutely love. So it's I'm using the Scrappy Layers technique in the background there with the wonderful designer series paper that comes in with the bundle as well, plus the really cute little images. And I love the red and the black and the white together. They look really, really lovely. The sentiment I'm using is actually not from the stamp set. It's from a different stamp set called Here's a Card. And I just really love the stamps. The sentiment I'm using today is this little one here. It's all messy, the hair, the house, the heart, life. And inside I've popped, I'm here if you need me. And I really think that's a lovely sentiment for someone who may be struggling a little bit with their lives, or who might just need a little bit of a cheering up. But I also thought it was really, really lovely with the little dog, because the dog reminds me of this is him here. He reminds me of the Lady and the Tramp dog, who was sort of really messy and scrappy and nobody loved him. So I think that looks quite good because he is quite messy. And here he is inside. And it's what dogs are. I don't know if anyone who's watching is a dog owner. I've got my two beautiful girls, and honestly, when you walk in the door at night and they are the only people that are pleased to see you, you know that they are there for you. Sometimes when you don't want them to be, they're all in your face, but you know, when you need them, they're there. So I just thought that was a really lovely little sentiment to go with our scrappy dog. Anyway, so let's get started. Okay, so I'll pop everything aside, but as I say, that's Here's a Card, and it's got some lovely other sentiments in it as well. Just one of these really nice general sentiment ones that you can get a lot of use from. We've got normal happy birthday and thank you, you've made my day, congratulations, and I think there's a sympathy one there as well. So you know, it really is that one stamp set that you can get for use with a lot of different occasions. Okay, so as I say, here's the Pampered Pets and the dies, and that's what we're going to be using. So first of all, with this card, and I've popped it somewhere and can't remember where I popped all my bits. Oh, here we are. Okay, so we've got a black card base. I'm finding it. So it's a basic black card base, just my normal size, 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4. Hey Lisa. Hey Annette, hey Sue, thanks for joining me. 5 3/4, and I've scored it in the middle there. So that's just a normal card base. I then have a 1/8 of an inch smaller piece of real red, which will just sit on the front there, just with a tiny border of black around the edge. And I do have another one, which will eventually go on the inside as well. So exactly the same size, just an 1/8 of an inch smaller than our card base. And then I have a piece of Whisper White, which is an 1/8 of an inch smaller again. So that just tucks in over there, so that's the insert. And then, the same as that one, I've got another piece of black. So this is where all the action is going to happen on this particular piece of black here. So that's the one we're going to be layering our beautiful scrappy scraps onto. Okay, so if you're one of those people that keeps everything, you probably got some very artistically wonderful scraps lying around in your craft room already, but I never actually have those sorts of things lying around, so I basically have got to make my own strips I'm making my own scraps. But anyway, so I'll show you how I've done them. I've got them all here. So basically I've started with 6" by 1" pieces of the designer series paper that I want to use. So I've used it from the bundle, and I'll show you that in a moment. It's really cute. We've got little, you can see here, we've got little footprints and love hearts. There's dogs on the back of that one. We've got some glorious sort of black and white writing with all doggy words on it, like woof and scratch and love and bark and play. And then we've got just some straight red lines and some sort of, that one's got some bones and doggy dishes and leashes and that sort of thing. So it's a really, really, really nice sort of little paper pack. So anyway, though I've started with all those, I started with a 1" by 6" piece of cardstock, designer series paper. Bring in my trimmer, and I'll make sure you can actually see that before I get started. Okay, there it is. Yeah, so you can see that. I hope. See all of that? Yep, cool. And then basically all I've done, just to create those sort of slightly wedged looking scraps, is just align it, the piece of cardstock, so it is sort of diagonally cut, but not too exact or too precise, but just so that it's sort of starts on one side towards the right, and then it comes in and tucks in at the left, so you get sort of a diagonal cut. I'll probably show you what's best that I show you. So when I cut it like this, I end up with two sort of wedgy shapes with a thin end and a thick end, and that's what we're after. So do that with all your pieces of paper. I think I probably had to use 4 or 5 pieces of designer series paper to get enough for this card. So just do that with all of them. I'm also using a piece, and there go my glasses on the floor, a piece of the Real Red. So I did exactly the same thing, a 6 by 1" piece, and I've cut it slightly at a diagonal, slightly at a cross, just to make it thicker at one end and thicker at the other. Thinner at one end and thicker at the other. Okay, so now what we do is basically layer these up onto our piece of black cardstock, and our piece of, the cardstock's really good because we'll see the black through, but it also helps us line them up so they're nice and straight as well. Okay, so there's no real hard and fast rule here. You just basically do what feels good. So and I try to keep, you know, similar pieces of paper away from each other. So you're just basically starting with some glue. Don't overdo the glue because it will squirt out all over the place, and your paper is slightly longer than your cardstock, so it will squish out at the ends. So you're just lining it up. Go over the edges of the black if you feel you have to, for the sake of your image, of your pattern, because you're going to trim them off at the end. I'm going to do that one, and I'll bring in, so it's a matter of sort of coordinating it so that everything's pointing in the right direction. I'll bring this one in next, maybe. Might bring in a red one. So I really like the red, just the plain red or whatever black block colour in these as well. It just sort of breaks it up a tiny bit. You just bring that in. Give yourself probably a tiny smidgen of a gap between the two so that you can just see the black through. So probably even 1/16 of an inch, or less than a millimetre. And I might bring in the black one. Who else has joined us? We've got Carol, thanks for joining me, Jenny, and Beryl, thanks for joining me, Beryl. I'm going to bring this black one in, just a bit of glue in that one. So again, just lining it up, slightest gap between the two, and just move it into place. Okay, and this one, yep. This one's next. So I'm alternating the ends as well. You might see I'm going to, each layer is actually got the thick end at the opposite end. So the thick end's up here, thick, thick, thick. So they just sort of line up. But if you can get it to work some other way, that's all good. What have we got now? This one? Yep. It must be school pickup time. My street is very, very quiet normally, but at about 3:15, everybody comes to pick up their kids at the school at the end of the street. So we have the 3 o'clock rush, which is quite funny really, because it means about 5 cars come by. Okay, where else have we got? We want a thin one. No, that way. Yep, or a black one. I might go a black one next, just to alternate with that one. Let's do that. Okay, I hope everyone's having a great week. I have my Fridays off. I always call them my Fridays from my day job, so I really enjoy getting into the craft room on Fridays. I have to show you what I've been doing. I'll show you in a second. I've been making up kits for my July card classes by mail. Really some of my favourite time of the month when I make up my card classes. So anyone who's booked a card class, I'm doing them for you right now not as we speak, because I'm doing this now, but at this very minute I'm doing those. I might do this one. Yep. Oh, bit of glue there. Okay, what else have we got on? Okay, so you can see there I've got a tiny bit of gap of the black there, but it's too big to keep blank. So what I'm going to just do is pop a little bit of glue on there and just put one more piece. Which one? Doesn't really matter, I suppose. Just put one more. No, maybe the red one. Just put the last piece of that red there. And as I say, we're going to trim it so it's in line with, it looks like our triangular, rectangular like our black. We just need to colour in that part there, or cover it in. Okay. Okay, so it's going to stick to your paper, so be careful lifting it. There we are. So that's our layering, our scrappy layers. And you can see on the back is where I'm going to have to trim it all. So I'll bring back the trimmer. Now be careful when you do this. It's sometimes better if you've got time just to let the glue dry before you bring your trimmer in, because sometimes the glue makes it tricky to cut, but I shan't make you wait for that. We'll just be very, very careful. So I'm just trimming it back into shape with best to go that way. Trimming it to shape with our original rectangle. So just lining it up, line up the blade with your original rectangle and trim. Okay, so if you've used too much glue, you're going to get some very gluey little leftovers, but yeah, just be very careful. It's this one. There we are. That's pretty good. And where's the best to go now? If you've got like a favourite little guillotine trimmer, that's sometimes really good to use with this as well. It's sometimes a little bit more accurate than the slide trimmer. But there you go, that hasn't worked out too badly at all. What do you think about that? As I say, I love the black and the white and the red together. It's just really, really, really striking. So there we are. So that's our background there for our little doggy. Okay, so what we can probably do now is layer up our card and get that on. I'll just leave the inside bits out. So I've got the Whisper, Real Red layer that's going to go onto our card base. I just need to share to a friend who said she wanted to join me. I haven't seen her come on yet, so just bear with me guys. I'm just sharing it to a friend. There we go. Cool. Alright, that's my duty done. Okay, so I've got my real red layer there, and then I'm going to bring in my layer that we've just created. Now I'm going to put in a little piece of ribbon, and I'm glad I pulled myself up because I do tend to do that sometimes and forget that I'm going to use some ribbon. Bear with me, I've got some real red ribbon here. I forgot to cut before, so I've just got some real red ribbon. I'll cut that too long, so I'm just going to loop that around this layer. I just need to trim it to the size of the paper. Bring in my tear and tape, if I can find it. Here we go. Just pop some little pieces of tear and tape on the back. I'm going to have that sort of central, so I'll line it up with my grid paper. There and there. So the centre is about here. Sorry, I realise I'm up a little bit low there. And I hope the whole video hasn't been low like that. If someone can tell me if I'm working a little bit low, sometimes it's a bit hard. Okay, so there you are, Sally. Just saw you join. Apologies, I didn't tag you in earlier. Okay, so I'm just popping my ribbon pretty centre and around, and then I'll guesstimate the back there, like that. Okay, so there we are. That's just a tiny bit of real red ribbon there, and now I'll do the rest with some glue and pop that onto our real red layer, just like that. Just like that, she says, and it slips. Okay, so there is our card base done. I think that's really sweet. I really like that layered scraps technique there. Okay, so we can pop that aside and we'll start working on our cute little puppy dogs. We're here somewhere. So, as I say, I've got our little guy here, our little Lady and the Tramp dog, and here's another one of him having a good scratch from the back on. So I've already stamped them and cut them out with the die cuts, so they are really, really sweet. I'm just going to colour them now, just quickly. I'm going to use blends, and I'm going to use the grey, so I'm going to use the Smoky Slate Light and the Smoky Slate Dark, and I'm going to give him a really nice, cute, bright red, if you can find it, bright real red collar. So they're the colours that I need. Plus I'm going to colour in his little tip of his nose there. I'm just going to do that in black, so just bear with me when I get to that. So I'll do one at a time. So this is the one for the front, and what I'm going to do with the dark Smoky Slate is just imagine where the shadows would be with him sitting in this sort of pose. So obviously the shadows would be towards the ground here, so I'm just putting the dark one here, sort of up here. This is all wind shadow here as well, if you can imagine, and his sort of leg in there would be dark. It's all tucked up underneath, so that would be his sort of shadowy. And I suppose if the sun was coming from one side, actually probably that would all be shadow there. So there, so right up to there, and then this side of his head, it's away from the light, and his ear. Yeah, so now the kids are coming past from the school. We can hear young men being a bit noisy, that's what it is. Okay, so with the light Smoky Slate, I'll then bring in and sort of blend that all in. So with your blends, it's exactly what they're supposed to do, blend. You just basically colour in and then use very light circular motions, there they go, to sort of blend in the light and the dark. I might swap to the other end of that. That one seems to be, wondering whether maybe it's running out of ink a little bit. That's better. So just very light circles, bringing the dark and the light together. Of course on this side it's just purely light. I don't know that you'll be able to see this very well on the video, but it does transition quite nicely from light to dark. Ooh. Make sure we don't go over his collar. Just blur those lines a little bit. There we go. Cool. Oh, he's on the ground. Where did you go? Okay. So I'll just now do his, excuse, I'll wobble around while I move my chair to pick that up. So we've got a real red collar. And just bring that in there. And then I'll show you what I mean with the colouring. So we've got there, so you can see hopefully quite well that it's sort of gone from dark to light with a bit of a shadow. Cool. Now, who said that? Sally, Janice. Yes, the paper is so nice. I'm going to do cats next because I don't want people to accuse me of being dog centric. We haven't got a cat at the moment, but we have had a cat. The poor little thing passed recently, but yes, definitely not 100% dog person. Okay, so this little guy that I'm going to be putting inside, I'm going to just do very similar with him. Apologies, I usually do my colouring beforehand, and but I did left it this time. I thought there wasn't too much to do. I'm going to do dark on his little belly and up under his bottom, where the shadows would be, under his tail. And then lovely around his back as well. Okay, here we are, under his chin probably as well. Okay, and then as again with the other little guy, just bringing it in the light shade and blending the two in. I am actually going to be making another video this afternoon, but I think I'm going to put it straight to YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I'm going to be using the peony, how do you say that? Peony garden? Peony. I can say it when I'm not saying it. I can say it in my head. Peony garden? Anyway, you're all laughing at me. Anyway. Beautiful flower that they have with this with the new catalogue as well, and I'm going to be doing a card with that this afternoon and popping it on my YouTube channel. So as I say, if you aren't subscribed, please do so, and you'll get a notification when I go live on that. It's a lovely set with some lovely embellishments, quite glorious. Okay, so there's his body. I'm going to give him the same real red collar, and I'm going to use a black marker just to give him a little black nose. There. Cool. Okay, so there's our second little guy. Hopefully you think they are as cute as I do, because I think they're just so cute. I'm dog centric, lol. No, it was my cat we lost recently. Sorry, I'm talking and not thinking. Yes, we lost our cat recently, but yes. So my two beautiful girls are still with us, but our cat got quite sick. But she was like 15, so you know she had a pretty good life for a cat, I think. Anyway, so there's my two little dogs. So now I'm going to mount that up. I did have a black. Okay, here we go. So I've got a basic black scalloped circle from the Layered Circles die set, and I've got a real red, the matching real red circle as well. So they're just going to sit basically like that. So I'm going to pop those. I'm just going to glue them together and then onto the card. So just glue on the back of the red one and onto the black. Now I haven't overdone it with the dimensionals on this one because I'm going to do something special with the sentiment, and I would like that to be a real striking feature, so I'm not going to do too much sort of with anything else until we get to the sentiment. So I'm going to put our circle just here, just slightly below halfway, just so it's not quite as predictable as it could be, and I'm just gluing that on there, so that will trap our ribbon in place. And then our little guy here is having a good scratch. I'm going to pop him on some dimensionals and pop him straight onto our circle. Okay, there we go. More little paper hexagons to pick up with the vacuum cleaner. I'm going to pop him just on there, just like that. Okay, so the sentiment. Now, as I say, it's going to be a sentiment from the Here's a Card set. I've got myself a piece of basic black cardstock, and I'm going to use It's All Messy, the hair, the house, the heart, life. And given that I've got 5 adults living in this house at the moment, it's particularly messy when it comes to the house, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm going to heat emboss this with white embossing powder. I think it really stands out beautifully with the black, the white on the black. So I've just got I'm going to get my buddy. So the buddy, when you use the buddy on dark colours, it does actually leave some of its powder behind, but that will come off later, and it's far better than having your embossing powder go everywhere. At least that's the theory anyway. So I've got my Versamark. For people who haven't seen heat embossing before, you basically stamp your image or your sentiment in clear Versamark ink, and then you scatter it over with the embossing powder. So the embossing powder actually just sticks to the clear ink, like so. And then we bring in our supercharged hairdryer, or our heat gun, and forgive the noise, and we just heat the powder so it melts together and goes glossy. And you can actually see that, I think, if I'm getting the right vision through my iPad, you can actually see that go from quite dull to quite bright as it melts. I'll just make sure I've done that in the light. Okay, make sure that's done. It's a bit hard to tell. It's so dull outside at the moment, I can't actually see, but I think it's all done. That's cool. Okay, so I'll just pop that back. And then what I'm going to do is actually grab my scissors, my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful scissors. I'm going to cut this sentiment out so that so it's not a uniform shape all around. It's not a square or a circle. It's just following the shape of the words, or the words around it. So making sure I've done that. Bear with me for a second. I think so. It's just if I haven't, it's going to smudge. So I'm just sort of keeping a standard distance between this edge of the scissors and the words. So if you can go really, really close if you want, or you can go a little bit further away, but you're basically just following the outside where the words have little dips. You cut a dip. If the word has a little peak, you cut a peak. So go up around my L's there and back in, and then back out again. Now I would suggest if you're doing this you use nice sharp scissors, because it tends to it's very fine cutting, and it will rip if you haven't got really sharp scissors. So there, it's nice and easy and straight there, and I'll dip out, take it a little bit further, dip out from my L. And this is a really good way of putting a sentiment on something if you don't really want to cover your card too much. So say in this case we don't want to cover our beautiful scrappy layers too much, so this is a really good way. Can you imagine if we'd actually just done that with a circle or a rectangle? There's a lot of area there that we would have covered and not seen our really beautiful papers. So I'm just going to take that in a little bit more. I haven't quite gone in far enough there. Okay, and somebody's ringing. That's all right, we'll leave that. Okay, so there we are. Now, a little hint, if you do like doing, if you would like to do that a little bit, you see the little, and I hope I haven't got it, have I got it here? No. When you take off the paper from a sentiment, you see you take off the paper at the back, that shape there is fundamentally the shape you want to cut if you're cutting out using this sort of cutting out sentiment technique. So keep them. I do actually keep them, but I can't find the one from that. Keep them, and then you can use that as a guide for cutting out your sentiment. That's just a little tip there. Okay, so we've got our little sentiment here, and he's cut out quite close there all the way around. What we're going to do is bring our little card back in, and the sentiment's going to sit there. I'm also going to put it onto some dimensionals. Might use small ones because there's some little tiny bits there. So just some little mini dimensionals. Pop them on the back. There we go. Really could use another one there, I think. Let's see if I can fit it in. Let's see. Yep, just. Let's just take the backs off those. And pop that on there. There we are. Just compare that to my other one, pretty much the same. So there we are. We have our scrappy dog giving himself a bit of a itch, a bit of a scratch on the front of the card with that really nice sentiment there. Okay, on the inside, I've got our other panels that I had already cut. So I'm going to put the red one on first. Probably worked out, if you've watched me a little bit lately, I'm right into the layered insides as well. Seem to be drawn to them as a design. So just a little bit of that there, a little red, and then straight on top of that, oh, the white. And then I'm going to bring our other little guy here in and pop him just with some glue straight to there, faithfully watching what's going on. So just sitting there. There he is. And as I said, I'm going to use the other part of that sentiment, which is not in that stamp set, which is I'm here if you need me. And they sure are. Okay, so I'll get a block and then some black ink. Just pop that sentiment there. There we are. There we go. How's that? That's just so good. There we are. I'm here if you need me, which is good. Okay, so that is my card for today, or this card for today. As I say, we've got the Scrappy layer technique with the beautiful designer series paper from the Pampered Pets suite. We've got some cute little guys, some cute little dogs, and that message, that really, really nice sentiment from the Here's a Card. So there we are. So if you don't have a demonstrator and you'd like to inquire about any of the products or techniques you've seen today, please drop me a message. Pop over to my Facebook, well, this is my Facebook page. Go on to send me a message via my Facebook page, and I'm happy to give you a call if you leave your mobile or phone number. And if you would like a copy of the catalogue, please let me know as well. This little guy is on page 42 of the new catalogue, which I had it open here. Page 42 of the new catalogue, so he's right at the front, and it's really, really sweet. So there's some really nice stuff in this catalogue, in the new one, if you haven't seen one. So I'll show you. I might just quickly show you what I've been working on this morning, because it is my favourite time of, as I say, my favourite time of the month when I get my card classes ready. So this month's card class is, well, I've got two going. One features the inspiring iris, and the other one features the beautiful friendship. I'm just finding the iris one. So these are the cards that I'll be featuring for my inspiring iris. So I've got two really cute ones there, and this one is a Dutch fold. So it's a little bit special. So it sits up like this when it's on display. Just a bit hard for you to see there on that way up, but anyway, so these are the three cards you'll be doing if you enroll in my class this month or for July, and you get enough cardstock, embellishments, everything cut and scored to make 6 cards, so 2 each of these with the stamp set. And I've got the beautiful friendship one, but I'll share that with you a bit later because I've popped them away somewhere and I can't find them. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my card today. As I say, if you haven't got a demonstrator and you'd like to know anything, please drop me a message or give me a call. And I hope you all have a great Friday and a great weekend. And I will see you all, hopefully, over on my YouTube channel. So, okay, bye-bye.